All right, well, welcome to Loot Shooter Weekly. I am gamertag Burt Reynolds, and with me tonight, as usual, is the Golden Voice Gaming Negan Killjoy.
Hello,
Hi, Negan.
Bert. How's it going,
Hi,
man?
Negan. I'm doing well.
Feel like
doing
dancing.
well.
Feel like dancing tonight. There we
It's
go.
nice.
We're gonna be dancing a little bit. Yes.
I like that.
Thursday treating you okay?
A Thursday's treating me okay. Yeah,
And
it is.
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark that it's treating you better than your Wednesday did, because if I recall correctly, somebody had a wrestling match with a skunk.
Yes, it is treating me way better than my Wednesday. And yes, I did have a wrestling match and get sprayed by a skunk.
Nice.
I got skunked. Yeah, it was not good. Not fun.
Literally got skunked. And how
I
many
did.
showers and how long did it take before you smelled like a human again?
2 showers and 2 changes of clothes, and even this morning, like my phone case still smelled like skunk. Yeah,
That'll do it. Yeah, I know I haven't gotten skunked, knock on wood, myself, but yeah, it took a while when one of our dogs got skunked one time. Took a little while to get that smell to go away.
well, and my yard smells like it, and probably will for days, weeks,
Yeah, absolutely.
whatever.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear your Thursday treating you better, though. So that's good to know.
It's treating me way better. Yeah. So the stream tonight, we're doing something. Well, we always record these streams to post them on YouTube, and this
Yes, you
week
do.
we're going to do one to put up on YouTube called Inside the Builder Studio.
Inside.
And we're gonna,
so you need to say it
yeah.
like inside the builder's studio.
Well, you have to, because tonight the role of James Lipton
That's right.
will be played by Negan Killjoy, not by me.
Yes. Not by
I'm
you.
I'm gonna play Brad Pitt or Ryan Gosling or something. You
There
get to
you
be
go.
you get to be James Lipton. So that's your role tonight.
So I'll have to talk
yeah.
like that on occasion. Hello, welcome to the builder's studio. Inside the builder's studio.
Inside the Builder Studio. So we're actually, and I titled the stream Inside the Builder Studio, The Process. So we're going to talk tonight about the process of putting a build together. Because we've done, 2 build videos in a row?
Yes,
Probably be doing another one next week. And so tonight I'm just going to show you what that process looks like. Before we get into inside
the inside the builder studio.
Inside the Builder Studio, we're going to talk about what we're having to drink.
Yeah, we are.
So we don't wait too long for that. It's my week to go first. I win this week. It's my week to go first.
That's it. Whether it is or not, you got skunked yesterday. You deserve to go first.
I do. I think I'm drinking what you drank last week, Negan. I think Lagertown by Half Acre, which is Half Acre's Oktoberfest. Was that what you did last week?
I did a Half Acre, yes, but last week it was called Fader, which was a lager. Their lager, but it's called Fader.
Well, I'm doing Lagertown, which is their Oktoberfest. And
that makes sense.
They're here in Chicago. It has no description on it, so I won't read you a description. It's an Oktoberfest.
Nice. Well, then mine.
How about you?
I am also drinking an Oktoberfest, as it turns out. It seems to be that time of year for everybody. Mine is from a brewery here in California, from Livermore, California. It's called Altamont. It's one of our favorite breweries. They do a couple of different beers that we like. And their description is our take on a traditional Feist beer lager using all German ingredients. This lager has a deep golden amber color and is full-bodied yet smooth and has a touch of hops for balance. Raise this can to celebrate fest season. Prost! So
Prost.
That's a Marzahn Feist beer is what it's called. Oktoberfest.
Yes, Marzahns.
Yeah. Yes, I like Oktoberfest, so I'm looking forward to this one. And Prost to you as well, my friend.
Do you know what a Marzahn is, Negan? Do you know the story behind it?
Last time I checked, it's somebody from Mars that our current rover is discovering. No? Yes? Am I close?
No.
They prefer to be called Marzans, by the way. Just so you know, we call them Martians, but they prefer Marzans.
They like Marzans. I did not know that. That's good to know. That is good to know.
There you go.
No, the whole thing is, so at the planting season in the 1600s, right? The end of planting season, the monks, Trappist monks or German monks, would put away a batch of lager in a cave to be opened at the harvest when they celebrated the Oktoberfest, the harvest festival. And so it's a really long lager. It's got that, nice kind of deep dark malt flavor because the hops they would not have had a lot of hops yet that early in the spring, right? So it's mildly hopped and much more malty.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Well, that's good to know. So Oktoberfest isn't just a big old drinking festival. It actually is supposed to celebrate the harvest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've heard.
When you finish bringing in the harvest, then you celebrate Oktoberfest and have a fest beer. So there you go.
Now that when we get all beer geeky, I like it.
Beer geeky, yeah. Now that we've been beer geeky, let's return to the Builder Studio and
inside the Builder Studio. Before you do that, I feel like there has to be at least 3 questions I have to ask you first.
Okay.
The first one is, if you were a tree, what tree would you be?
I'd be a maple tree.
Maple tree. Why a maple tree?
I like to skateboard, and skateboards are always made of maple. Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And wired or wireless?
I'm wired. I like wired. It's reliable.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And third, Amara, Zane, Flack, or Mose?
Tonight, Amara.
Okay. All right, well, let it go. All right, so those...
Normally Mose, but tonight,
Normally
Amara.
Mose. Amara, okay. So those are the 3 questions that I had to get out of the way first and make sure everybody knows it's an insight into your personality right there.
There we go. Yeah.
Wired maple Amaras. So there you go.
Those are great questions, Negan. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Or shall I call you James?
No, we'll stick with Negan. I'll call you Burt. We'll stick with Negan.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So I'm going to give you a little kind of the way I look at, we'll call it the environment of builders. Just kind of set the stage. There's a couple different kinds of builders for Borderlands. And I think this goes for any gear-based loot shooter or RPG. So you have a group that I would call tier 1 builders. In Borderlands 3, that would be people like Moxie, Killer 6, Jolts Dude, DPJ, trying to think of some other ones, but Jaded Echo.
Thick Filla.
Thick Fillet. Yeah, Thick Fillet would be one. These are people who actually make their living, and they're sponsored, partially sponsored by Gearbox. They make their living gaming. They almost always run their own Discord and gaming community from which they can draw ideas from. And what they have created, let's just talk about Moxie for a second, right? He goes about, takes in ideas, he creates what I would call base builds, right? So every one of these characters in this game, depending on the comm that you're using for them, is going to have a skill tree that just makes sense, right? There's not going to be a lot of variation within that skill tree. I'm going to use Mose as an example. If you're going to do splash damage Mose, you're going to want to go all the way down the blue tree and probably almost all the way down the green tree. And it's going to be certain items really enhance that build. And putting points into other, cards in the skill tree would make no sense, right? And off of that, they'll create kind of the base build. So Fire Hose Mose is a base build. If you're going to run Sentinel and Shield, Chain Zane is a base build. And almost all of those tier 1 streamers have base builds that look very similar to each other. They're a little different, but they're going to be very close, right? And so that's tier 1. And then you have people like myself that I would call tier 2. We're not inventing the wheel. We're taking a base build and enhancing it into a couple different buckets, right? So we're going to build around an anointment, a gun anointment, because there's kind of 4 things you have in a build, right? You have weapons, you have gear, you have anointments, And then you have the skill tree. And the skill tree is going to be pretty well set by those base builds. Tier 2 builders are going to take something a tier 1 builder did, and they're going to do a couple different things potentially. Maybe they found a really interesting interaction. A couple weeks ago, somebody figured out that Moses splash damage plus a bangarang gun from Tadore makes a really fun throwing the bangarang grenade splashy build, right? So maybe it's something like that. Or maybe it's, I'm going to do a build. I'm working on a build right now that will probably feature next week that's Moe's and it's all doll weapons, right? So it's really focused around the gun company doll. Or it's going to be an anointment build.
Right.
So tonight we're going to look at it. I'm going to put together from scratch with no planning an anointment build.
All right.
And I picked Amara tonight because I don't see a lot of people running a build like this. It might not work, I'll be honest. But I'm going to try and build an Amara build around URAD or 5150. So something using a front loader to get myself below 50% health. And I'm going to try and get in, you're going to get all that radiation damage, 150% radiation damage. And then I'm going to try and fill in with all the other elements because Amara is an elemental character. And that would be a tier two build. That's what I would call a tier 2 build. Yeah, go ahead, Negan.
So what do you find when you're doing this kind of stuff? What do you find most enjoyable? Is it taking the base builds and building off of those, or do you find it equally enjoyable finding a different route to take and see if it's going to work or not? What do you find most enjoyable out of the two possibilities?
So what I find most enjoyable, and this is, as we kind of talk about the process, like I'm the type of nerdy guy that wakes up at 3 a.m. out of a dead sleep and is like, I wonder if I could run a front loader on Amara. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
And so it's more like a question. I'm trying to answer a question for myself. You know what I mean? Like, I'll have an idea, a thought, or I wonder why nobody's done that before. And even as I'm building out this doll build for Moe's, right? Like I've seen, that like when the person put together that Bangarang build, right? They made it all TDR guns, right? So the whole build was TDR. I was like, well, nobody's ever done a doll build, and there's a couple good splash doll weapons like the Chaos and Breath of the Dying, and now we have the Bloodstar Beast SMG. I'm like, I wonder when everybody's done that. I should do that. A little bit I'm finding out because doll doesn't have any good splashy pistols.
Okay. So it's lacking one item or one weapon class.
Well, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out what I can do to enhance that. Maybe the net result of this is I end up with a fun build, but maybe it's not the best. So that one I'm in the process of building and researching. Normally it's going to, like, we're going to do one tonight and it's going to take, maybe 20 minutes. Normally these things go on for days and weeks, and we enlist the guys from the Angelic and Beastly Creatures Discord that we belong to do a bunch of testing. Those guys are great. They do a bunch of testing. They help get the gear, and or some of them are PC crafters and they'll PC craft me gear. And so, with the guys from Angelic and Beastly Creatures, we're able to really run a build through its paces, right? And get different opinions, because in my mind, the best builds are community builds on a level, right? Somebody has an idea, somebody wants to do something, want to be an N of 1, because you might think it's great, and then somebody else goes and takes it somewhere else in the game that you haven't taken it and figures out, hey, it struggles here, right? So I'd want to know that.
Right, exactly. Anything is usually made stronger by having more people look at it, more people work on it like that, and give the feedback. So that makes a lot of sense.
You give a lot of great feedback, right? Like I give you builds and you'll run them and play with them, and you give feedback, and we'll take them in and try and run them through takedowns, because ultimately kind of the mark of a completed good build is it can complete either one of the takedowns.
Right.
That would be ideal. And the Circles of Slaughter, which offer a different challenge. One's about mobbing and the other's about, mobbing and bossing. That's kind of the whole process, right? It starts with an idea, start to put meat around that idea, start to do some testing, hand it over to the community, let them do some testing, gather feedback, make adjustments, and then run it through some takedowns, see how it does, make additional adjustments, and so on and so forth. Now, the build I'm going to do tonight I have no intention of taking through all that. It's just kind of for the heck of it, right? It's just kind of for fun. But we're going to see what it does, see what we can do with kind of that concept. Can I run URAD on Amara? So when I start a new build, I have an empty skill tree. I have an empty backpack, nothing. And we're going to start at my bank because we're going to get the gear out first and kind of contemplate the gear to see, what we want to do. So we're going to want 5150 stuff. I'm going to grab this light show.
I'd like to point out, everybody, the size of his bank is 50 less than it usually is.
Thanks, Negan. I appreciate that. So I'm gonna go through here. I'm just gonna grab a few 5150 weapons. Hell shock. I think that's probably good for pistols. I think I'm gonna want maybe some. I think I'm gonna want some smogs. Now I already know this with Amara that I'm gonna have radiation and I'm gonna have shock because I run her base element as shock. So what I'm actually gonna want is fire, corrosive. Yeah, I mean, pretty much I'm gonna want fire and corrosive. What I'm gonna want for her. So I'm not gonna pick up a whole bunch of stuff that isn't gonna fit that range. Although for takedowns, I really am gonna want shock and corrosive in general.
Now, when you do a build, and specifically with this build, are you looking at the meta guns, or are you looking at just guns you think will be fun to run with?
I mean, a little bit I'm looking at meta guns, not because they're meta, but there's no point in creating a situation for which you're just going to have an unpleasant ride, right? I mean, why do that?
Right. Well, that could be building itself. How unpleasant can it be? Let's do that.
It can be pretty unpleasant. Believe me. I'm going to pick up a couple clairvoyances there because those are always fun. Star Helix, that'll be fun. I have a Convergence. Fire one, I do. I have a Brainstormer, that'll be nice. Pigs. And of course the Hellwalker. The Hellwalker is good. And then I'm going to grab a couple launchers here, just in case of bossing. Grab that.
As you're choosing the guns, you're looking at both a mobbing solution and bossing solution to start with. Even if the build doesn't end up doing one or the other, when you pull the guns out, you're looking for mobbing and bossing guns at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, I am. So with Amara, in her skill tree, you have available to you one of three elements, base elements: shock, fire, corrosive. And you can pick up the other two using a skill called conflux. What you cannot get is radiation or cryo. Now I'm going to get radiation because I'm running 5150, so I want cryo, so I'm going to pick a front loader that has cryo on it because that makes sense. Then I can pick that up after action skill. And reminder, Amara has action skills up a lot. I am going to run a Pearl on this. So in order to stack up the Pearl, I am going to run Hunter Seeker. The interesting thing here is because normally when I make an Amara a conflux base, we are going to do a Ties the Bind build. So we're going to do a base Phase Zerker Ties the Bind build. Just to keep it simple, start there for testing. Because I'm already getting the radiation, I'm going to actually pull in on grenade throw, which normally you would never have on Amara. So I'm going to do that because that'll be fun. I need a Phase Zerker, and I want one that already has some conflux in it. So grab that one. And then because we're going to have a front loader, I keep a couple different pearls around. I'm going to want one with health on it so that my health pool is not too small. All right, so apparently it already put my front loader on. That's nice of it. Yeah, it did. And it put the Hunter Seeker on, and the Pearl on, and the Phase Zerker on. That's the benefit when you're coming at this from nothing. So I'll start with that. I'm going to put on a Smog. I'm going to put on a Chaos. And I'm going to put on a Hellwalker. All that makes sense so far, Negan?
Absolutely. Got a variety of guns. You got the front loader that you're going with, all that good stuff, because that's going to be the 5150 value. Making sense so far.
Yeah, so in all of this, I end up with a shield of about 60,000 and health of 12,000. That's very low. But I have some solutions here, I think, in the skill tree. So, I have these skill trees pretty well memorized.
So as you're going into the skill tree, of those two, the
Mhm.
shield and the health, which one are you going to try to? You're obviously going to try to max out both of them and maximize both of them. But when you think about it first, as you're looking at those, what's the first one you're going to want to go after? If you have to.
Always health. In any front loader build, you want to maximize the health. So if you're running like a flak, gamma burst flak with a front loader, you want to maximize that health because you don't heal your shields. There's only one build in this game that heals the shields, and that is Moe's running a bloodletter com. So your shield's your shield, and when it runs out, you want to have more health than I have now. So
Right. Okay.
we're gonna you can max that out by running a front loader that has a multivitamin front loader that would have like extra health, but I don't have that. So this is what we're gonna do.
All right. Sounds good.
In the blue tree, and this goes back to kind of that base skill tree, but we're gonna make some adjustments. Like so, thinking about Moxie's what is his Chaos Queen Amara? I think it is. I
Mhm.
could be wrong. But he does have one name that I think that might be the one. We are going to put 5 into do harm because we're going to use ties that bind. We're going to put 1 into violent tapestry to help with the rush stacks, applying status effects. We're going to put a couple points for right now into restless. We're going to max out transcend, giving us some extra damage here. We're going to put 1 into ascendant that gives the augments a bonus. Put 1 into alacrity. Fast hands, it's not like super important, so I'm going to put more into restless. I'm going to put 3 into laid bare. This helps with the ties that bind, doing damage to other enemies. Wrath is my main damage increase coming out of this skill tree. I'm going to put 1 into remnant for the remnant orb. I don't need more than 1 into remnant because it dips into action skill damage and into mayhem scaling. I'm going to put 1 here into awakening, and then I'm going to go back up the tree. I really want my skills to come back quick. I'm actually going to put 1 more into alacrity. Boom, I get to avatar. This gives me my action skill twice so that I can grasp more often.
Nice. And a lot of people who aren't necessarily don't spend a lot of time building will get stuck in the fact, like in the blue tree, in order to get all the way down, you have to put something in every single category. And that's clearly not the case, nor do you have to max out the ones that you are using. So sometimes you get these diminishing returns as you look at the different levels and stuff like that. So that's also something to keep in mind as you're going through these builds, as you're doing this.
Yep. You want to fight against those diminishing returns. Mm-hmm. So from my comm here, I'm getting a few into this. So I'm going to put, I'm actually going to go all the way up on that. Anima, the status effects do increase damage. I'm going to put 5 into Tempest. This gives her additional elemental damage and shock damage. So that's a bonus right there. I'm going to put 1 into Infusion and 1 into Wildfire. 1 into Dread. Wildfire helps things spread. This converts some of our weapon damage into our action skill elements. So this will make a non-elemental gun. Say you have a gun that isn't elemental, it'll make it fire shock rounds, right? If I'm running shock as my action skill element. It's kind of cool.
And that's the infusion ability?
That's infusion. Yeah. Now it won't convert all the damage, but some. So I'm not going to max that out or anything. And then I'm going to put some into steady hands here to get down the tree, basically enough to get down the tree. Indiscriminate, this is an amazing one. This helps with ricochets, and we'll see that if I boss with a root, I will want ricochets. Deep well to get the mag size. Now, up here, I'm going to put this into here. Now, I am going to need some healing coming back at me, right? Like, I got to stay alive. So I'm going to put, right now, I'm not doing damage. I'm going to put 3 over to here. 1, 2 there. And I'm going to cap this one out with Forceful Expression. Reminder, Conflux is going to help us. So basically what this says is, for every shot I fire, right, I have a chance to apply an additional status effect, either fire or corrosive. So I'm always going to be dealing some shock. This is going to let me maximize all of the elements, pulling all the elements. So imagine you're going to get radiation, you're going to get cryo, you're going to get fire, you're going to get corrosive, and you're going to get shock all at once, differing amounts. This does not dip into action skill damage or mayhem scaling, so it's not going to give you a lot of damage, but you're going to pick up damage from a skill in the Guardian rank called Harmageddon that gives you 5% additional damage for each element you apply. So there's that. And again, it goes back to the vision I have for this is to apply all the elements, so that's where I'm going to go with it. In the green tree, I already have 1 into clarity, which is going to help me regen health. I'm going to put 3 into personal space. Root to Rise is going to give me max health. This is going to help me with that health bar. So I'm going to put the 2 that need to open this up into here. I've got 6 left. I'm going to put 3 into Helping Hands to mitigate damage. I like to mitigate damage. Now I could put the other 3 into Root to Rise here, which would, give me even more max health. It'd probably be a good thing. We'll have to test this out. But I'm going to put it into Samsara because then I get more health regen and additional gun damage, which is, I'm going to need a little extra damage. I just know it. And so I'm going to put it in here. I played around enough to know I want to maximize my damage output. And then I'm going to run Ties That Bind here. And because I'm going to be squishy, I'm going to run it with Soul Sap to get myself additional lifesteal. My base element, it doesn't show anything over there. When it doesn't show anything over there, my base element is Shock. Now, that only increased my health to 13,000, which sucks. It's not a lot. So I will be a little squishy. And this might end up being a fight for your life build. Hopefully not. I guess we're going to find out, Negan.
Now, did you pick 3 skills all the way through your tree, or did you only pick 2 to run 2?
Amara only gets to run 3. She's not Zane. So she gets 1 skill and 1 augment. 1 augment. And then an element. I could put it on fire. I could put it on corrosive. But I want it on shock.
So that's why you're leaving it blank, because if it's blank, it's shock.
Well, yeah, and it's just a visual glitch. I'll show you. So okay. if I equip fire, right, and then I come back into the tree and I say, what is it? It gets this. See, now it goes to shock. Oh, because okay. It's just a visual glitch.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah. So where we're gonna go, we've got the Bloody Harvest events going on, and I have to go find Maurice. That Discord we belong to, we belong to several different Discord groups, but I've been trying to do a giveaway once a week through the Angelic and Beastly Creatures, and so I'm trying to have a build a week right now to give away. And seeing as I'm the Moe's captain there, mostly Moe's builds, right? So I know next week I'll have to do a Moe's build. So the week after I can do a Terror build. Maybe I'll do a Terror Moe's build. But certainly, I could take advantage of some of that.
Gotcha.
But it would probably be more on the grenade front, because if I want to get all the elements going, I'm going to need this particular gear. So you can see I'm what we call fake grasping to max out my rush stacks. I come in here. I throw the nade to stack up my pearl. I'm going to stay away from barrels because that's dangerous.
Dangerous for everybody. And I'm still not shooting stuff. I'm watching, so we're going to see how this works out. Oh, no.
Well, yeah, I knew that was coming. Part of the problem is the ghosts will almost one-shot you, so you have to be a little careful with them. And I can't grasp the ghosts, right? So
right.
Nothing. Now you can see that my helping hands are helping a lot with the survivability. But I suspect that this would be challenging in a takedown. We'll have to try it out.
And why do you think it would be challenging? What would be the challenge you would experience?
Squishiness, riskiness. I mean, what I would ideally go out and hunt for would be to look for I would in essence want the same front loader, but instead I'd want a multivitamin front loader. Because I'd have a big health pool, probably close to almost 30, 26 maybe.
Okay.
Probably twice the size I have now. And that would be valuable. I mean, it really would be valuable. It'd give me a lot more health to heal. Problem is when you get down in these little tiny amounts of health, it doesn't take much to down you.
Right, you're talking like 1, maybe 2 shots and you're done pretty much at some levels.
Yeah. And so you can imagine like the crystals would become very challenging in the Guardian takedown for sure. Like that would be super difficult. Like that is like, and again in here with the ghosts, I gotta remember I gotta deal with the ghosts because I'm ending up terrified a lot.
And what does Terrified do for you?
Nothing good unless you have terror anointments on. Nothing good. Want to be shooting those. That's where having a build like this that is kind of squishy, there's a whole bunch of terror anointments that would be beneficial for keeping me alive. Regenning health when terrified. I think there's like a lifesteal one when terrified. So then I'd want to be terrified because that would be my source of healing. Yeah. At the same time, you can see, I mean, per the typical with Amara, her mobbing capabilities with a Ties That Bind build is exemplary. I mean, it is... Ties That Bind is just so strong. But I'm loving the fact that I'm getting meaningful radiation damage, right? I mean, that's the thing you can see there. Like, look at all the... Like, it really enhances what Amara is good at, which is mobbing. Having all that radiation damage really helps with mobbing. Usually what we want to do in a build is find where they are weak and fix the weakness. So normally on a Ties That Bind build, I actually run splash damage weapons. Because that's something that, you know, unless you get pretty far down the green tree, Amara doesn't have splash damage, a lot of splash damage. So if you run splash weapons with 200% splash ASE, that's a good source of additional damage for Amara.
So are you finding one gun working better than the other ones right now? Or because I see you switching back and forth between guns. Are you finding one that's working better for you? Or are you still experimenting?
Well, I love my Hell Shock.
Okay.
Hell Shock on Amara is just super strong. So the chaos there was struggling. Where's that guy? Oh, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Ties That Bind, man. So here's you can see here, while terrified, gain ammo regen.
Mm-hmm.
That would be good. That'd be good for Zane. On action skill and apply terror to yourself. All right.
Mm-hmm. All right. One of the few guns that actually takes advantage of that.
Yeah. Our good friend General Trant here. I did not put on a bossing. Oh yeah, I did. All right.
I do have to shoot occasionally when they're shooting at me, so. But Trot was
So
all
that's how you use a ties that bind build. I don't know if you all saw, what I did there. Maybe when we get the YouTube video, Negan can do a instant replay on it. But literally grab the guy that was next to him. You don't grab him with the phase grasp. You grab the enemy next to him, because the damage that passes through the ties that bind is way more, because that dips into the action skill damage and the mayhem scaling. And so when you do that, you end up with massive damage coming through the ties. And so once those enemies came out and I was able to grab one of them, it was one shot and down with Trant. So
nice. That's a plus when bad guys go down that quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what you're looking for out of a good gun, out of a good kill. The boss going down quickly.
Absolutely. So again, just before we close out here, kind of to recap, the build for me, Negan, it always starts with an idea. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Again, I'll make minor, there's only certain pathways in the skill tree that make sense, right? So I'm not going to deviate from that like crazy, but so I'm not going to deviate from it that much. Why? I don't want to do something just to do it different, just to be different.
Right. Right.
But I'm going to, I might minor adjustments, right? Because of in this one, the skill tree adjustments I made here, because I was going 50-150 running a front loader, is I would have never put all those points into additional health, right? I would have put those somewhere else, probably en route to rise. And then, I look at the gear I have, figure out, where does the gear make sense? What gear do I need? Farm it. If I have to farm it, I'll farm it. And hopefully the build comes together. And then it's all about testing. So, at some point, you and I will take this into the Malawan takedown, and we'll take it into the Guardian takedown. And if it seems like a good build, I'll put it forth to the rest of the community, and everybody can have a conversation about it and see what we think. If not, goes in the trash bin, and I move on to the next thing. The thing I get jazzed about with building and giving away builds is it's a little bit like art. What I like is being able to share the build with other people and see them enjoy it. Kind of like I used to paint. I loved, and I used to do some photography, and I used to paint. I love showing art because I like to see people enjoying the art. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what's cool about it. So same thing here. I like making builds just because I like to share the builds, and I like to see other people enjoy running them, and that's where I get my enjoyment.
Good. So going with this build that you built from scratch today, based off the URAD idea, how do you feel about this build? Do you feel it sounded like it was kind of squishy, so you'd want to tweak it a little bit, not that capacity, but how do you feel about the build?
Oh, it puts out damage. But it's hard to say because ties that bind is strong. Amara is just very strong. I liked it, man. I like it. I like the additional radiation damage. What was already a good mobbing skill became really strong. Until we tested the Malawan takedown, I can't say for sure.
Right. But for general content, though, you had enjoyable time with general content. The harder content, always a real test for it.
Correct. I had fun with it.
Good. It looked like you were having fun. You were putting down the bad guys pretty quickly. I had to shoot, like I said, I had to shoot a couple because they came out at me, but you were putting them down, and Trot was all you. That was all Burt.
Well, and those ghosts, man, those ghosts are the worst. I'll shoot them and they'll chase you. I mean, they target who they want to target.
Exactly.
So that is inside the Builder's Studio. We still have one more thing.
Builder's Studio.
We still have one more thing to cover tonight. We'll go the opposite direction and talk about how you felt about your Oktoberfest.
Oh, I get to go first on the review portion. All right.
Is it a festival over there, Negan? Are you enjoying the harvest?
I'm enjoying the harvest. I'm enjoying the festival. I'm enjoying the Marzon from Outer Worlds.
Nice.
So no, it's good. It is a little hoppy, but that's not a horrible experience in this one because it definitely has a malt and it's dark and it's amber. It's kind of an amber kind of color. It's not dark amber.
Right.
But it's good. I'm glad it's a local brewery because I would probably be looking for this again in the near future. So
Okay.
yeah, probably. Not the best, not like a 9 or something, but I'll probably give about a solid 7. Good solid 7
7.
beer. Yeah, 7 out of 10. Good solid beer.
Nice.
And what about yours? What do you think of yours?
Lagertown.
Lagertown. Are you feeling the festival? Are you feeling the Prost?
I'm feeling the bloody harvest. Celebrating the bloody harvest.
There you go.
No, it's so I've done a couple of other Oktoberfests recently on the show. This one's solidly middle. I'm gonna say it's like a 7. It's a little hoppier than I would like also. It does have a good malt character, but it's a little on the hoppy side for a Marzen. So 7. 7.
All right, two 7's not bad.
But it's good to celebrate. Bloody Harvest starting today. Get to celebrate with a harvest beer. Create a build.
All good stuff.
Yeah.
All good stuff. So are we going to take this build into takedown and see how it does? Are you that confident about it?
Not tonight on stream.
Not tonight. No, I didn't think so tonight. I just meant in general.
We are. Oh yeah. No. We are. Yep. Yes, we will. We will, and we'll report back on what we did. I definitely am, and I'm definitely gonna probably order up a multivitamin front loader trial so that we can test that out and see how that helps it, if it helps it, and from there, if we like it, we'll hand it off to a couple of the guys over at Angelic and Beastly Creatures, give them a test at it. I don't know that I'd do a giveaway for it because I'm not the Amara captain. Somebody else might. I'd pass it off to somebody, right?
There you go. That makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good Discord though. Angelic and Beastly Creatures. I would put the link in chat, but the invite isn't working for some reason off Angelic and Beastly Creatures.
Oh,
so
that's a shame.
Somehow. Yeah,
that's a shame. Yeah. But that would be, that's we will take this thing, put it through its paces. Maybe we'll stream that this weekend if we want.
There you go. Okay.
And we could show it off and see how it goes. And yeah, so that is the Builder's Studio.
Nice.
And,
had a good time.
You've been inside of it. You've been inside of the Builder's Studio.
Yeah, there you go. All right. On that note, then, I think we're ready to go. I think we're ready to sign off for the night, or do you have anything else you want to add?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for doing that, Burt. It's much appreciated watching the process as well. So on that note, everybody, see ya.